Dragon Age the Veilguard has been getting absolutely roasted by the internet, from gamers to individuals who've simply seen the viral clips, and now we're hearing a report that says the Veilguard will not have any DLC or expansions, as Bioware is basically dropping the game and shifting focus to Mass Effect 5. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I can't say I'm particularly shocked to hear this, right? Because companies right now are putting themselves in quite the bad situations. Basically, they are selling you products that you do not want, and then they face major backlash for it. And while, yes, they did ultimately probably want to have the development team make extra content so that they could continue to make money off of it, they just were not able to do that because such a poor job was done in the first place. And now a new report is detailing that BioWare will not be delivering and developing any DLC or expansions for Veilguard, but instead will turn their entire focus to Mass Effect 5. Now, of course, we all knew that Mass Effect 5 was most likely going to be the game they worked on after Veilguard, but one just instantly would assume that they wouldn't have dropped Veilguard so quickly, that they would have wanted to put out extra content for it, because they have in the past. I mean, just looking at Dragon Age Inquisition alone, look at how much DLC they put out. They put out 6 different rounds. You'd think that they would have had a lot more confidence in this title, and that they would maybe even already be developing DLC. They would have already had a roadmap internally, but maybe they just knew, judging by the backlash for months leading up to release, that it wasn't going to be a smashing success, so they decided to cut their losses. I mean, we do not know for certain the sales numbers of this game, except for player counts on Steam, but from what we understand, it has just not been doing good. I mean, even the Steam numbers haven't been particularly great. As you can see, over release weekend, it peaked at 89,418, which isn't terrible. It's still nearly 90,000 people, but it's not the numbers that I'm sure EA and BioWare were expecting. And we're also hearing rumors that 14% of Dragon Age the Veilguard physical retail orders were reportedly canceled ahead of release, and the total pre-orders were less than 200,000 from a retail chain with over 900 locations. We do not know this for certain. It is just a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt, but it wouldn't shock me to hear that there were a lot of orders canceled. Now, of course, this also is only physical, and we know about 80% of games sold are sold digitally now, but there is still a significant amount of people who buy physical. I try to buy physical whenever I can. I mean, even though I haven't particularly enjoyed the Veilguard, I still went out of my way to get a physical copy because I always try to. But at the end of the day, they just created a really bad product, and it seems that nobody really connected with it except for the people who wanted to own the chuds, like the journos and their audiences. But George Yang at Rolling Stone reported on Halloween, with the Veilguard now complete, BioWare confirms that there are currently no plans for downloadable expansions, and he added, the developers' full attention has now shifted entirely to the new Mass Effect as their current project. And a subsequent report from Kat Bailey at IGN did detail that BioWare is not completely abandoning Veilguard following release, but will support the game with quality of life improvements and a handful of smaller content updates. Basically, we are going to fix any bugs and glitches that pop up, but we are not going to give you any more content, which I would understand. Again, if this was the plan initially, sure. I mean, we don't have confirmation that this wasn't their initial idea, but it just seems odd given how much you'd think they'd want to milk Dragon Age the Veilguard. I mean, we are talking about 9 years worth of development here. They began development originally back in 2015, so you'd think that while, yes, they put out, a game that you could play for 80 hours if you wanted to, that they would also want to give extra content on top of that. But it doesn't sound like that is their plan. And given the game will not have any DLC, it calls into question EA CEO Andrew Wilson's bravado surrounding the game. During a recent earnings call, he touted that the game had breakout potential. Well, maybe it's changed over the past couple of weeks, but it seems that that is definitely not true. He told investors, "It's an amazing time at EA, and in 2 days we will launch Dragon Age the Veilguard. It's been 10 years since we launched its predecessor, Game of the Year winner Dragon Age Inquisition," and he continued, "Early critic scores are strong and reflects the high quality, depth, and detail in niche action-packed adventures." This is such a crock of shit. We see this happen so often now where companies will tout to investors, "Oh, it's getting great scores. It seems like it's got breakout potential. The critic scores are strong and reflect the high quality." Yet, when you look at audience scores, they are basically never the same for these games. And I personally don't trust critic scores. That's why I want to play titles myself, and I recommend so many people do as well. But they do this thing where they tell investors, "Oh, it's got great early scores," yet the game ends up underperforming. The same thing just happened with Star Wars Outlaws, and this is why so many people, myself included, think critics are paid off, because if companies can go into investors' meetings and say the critic scores are amazing and that's why you should stick with us and that's why you should have faith in our products, why would they not try to manipulate the system? You cannot expect these people to be genuinely decent human beings. At the end of the day, they do want to make money. Well, unless you're a Bob Iger and you really want to push a specific agenda and you think, "Oh, it's okay because I've got a couple of big box office winners a year so it can make up for all the fails." But eventually, maybe there won't be so many fails, though. Someone like Andrew Wilson is clearly just in it for the money. So why would I trust that he's not going to manipulate the system and pay these critics to give more positive scores so at least he can spin it in some positive way to investors? It's just such a scummy system, the way that it's set up. And it seems that, yes, Dragon Age the Veilguard has not gone the way that they probably initially anticipated. You don't work on a game for nearly a decade and then say, "Well, it is what it is. We're setting it and we're forgetting it." No, you want to put extra time and extra effort into it. Yes, I get that it's an 80-hour game if you really take your time, but you'd think that they would be so attached to these characters, and it's been so long since we've gotten another Dragon Age that they'd want to, extend this experience as long as possible. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So while they have not 100% confirmed it, we are hearing from multiple sources that this game will not have any DLC or expansions, and I do most certainly think that the backlash affected their decision, right? Months leading up to release, we saw all of the teasers and trailers get absolutely annihilated. Just a couple of days before launch, when footage was leaking, it was proven that they wanted to focus more on identity politics than providing a genuinely amazing experience and focusing on high quality storytelling. And now that the game's out, we can see it's even 10 times worse than we thought it was going to be. So I will keep my eye on this situation to see if they make any statements, but it seems that Bioware is going to be dropping Dragon Age the Veilguard already, as Bioware has shifted their complete focus to Mass Effect 5. But that's all that I had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.